My name is Ronald Tembo. I'm the head of the Universal Service Fund, which is the digital inclusion arm of the Malawi Communications Regulatory Authority. If you remember last night, the DG, the Director General of MACRA, was speaking about ambitious targets to ensure Malawi is connected by 2027. Everything he was saying there, I have to do it or I lose my job. So I'm just going to present two of the initiatives that are being implemented to achieve those ambitious targets. The first one is Yatu Data. Yatu Data is an initiative to enhance rural connectivity. I'm sure the players here who are from Airtel and TNM, Inc., they will agree with me that they focus largely on urban areas, and for good reason. They believe their return on investment is greater in the urban areas. And as such, most of their investment is pushed towards that. Now, Malawi, only 36% of Malawi is accessing the internet. There are a variety of reasons for that very dismal statistic, ranging from infrastructure, lack of infrastructure nationally, digital literacy, content. There are various reasons why we are at that state. Now, the job of the Universal Service Fund is to implement projects, programs, and initiatives to close the various divides, to close the gaps that have been identified in Malawi's digital connectivity. So let me just run through the Yatu one first. What have I done? Okay. So let me just run through the model. The Yatu program is in line with the 2063 agenda. If you go into the Malawi 2063 blueprint, you will see there rural connectivity. You will see there school connectivity. This is being answered in the Yatu program and the next presentation that I'm going to give you. It is also in line with the Malawi National Digitalization Policy, which is aiming to ensure universal connectivity for all Malawians. So that's a snapshot of how we're going to implement it. Let me start this side. You've got the telcos, the Airtel, the TNM, and Starlink, whoever can provide backhaul services into the model. Then you've got MACRA. MACRA's role is to license and to ensure the policy as espoused by the Malawi government is met. Then there is USF, where the technical engine that's implementing the whole thing. We are implementing a cooperative-based model. For those who are from, I think there's something wrong, it's just switching off. Engineers, anybody? Just okay. So we're running this on a cooperative model. Those from Malawi here have heard of Mzuzu Coffee Cooperative. Mzuzu Coffee produces world-class coffee, but it's done by the locals up there in the north. They're grouped into cooperatives. Those cooperatives form a national cooperative, which forms the Mzuzu Coffee Company, which has a board and a CEO and everything. The same model, imagine it being a technological cooperative. So we facilitated the setting up of district cooperatives. We identified 6 cooperatives, and the criteria was done in such a manner that it's an empowerment vehicle. So those cooperatives had to be 51% women, and they have to have a sizable chunk of youth representation. We put out an expression of interest in the papers, people applied, we evaluated them, we trained the cooperatives. The cooperatives themselves formed a Yatu National Cooperative. The Yatu National Cooperative was then registered with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, And then in itself, it then is forming the Yatu Broadband Company. That Yatu Broadband Company, as you'll see in the next slide, is the one that's going to be responsible for running the whole system. It will manage the franchise. It will authorize the licensing of district cooperatives. It will deal with backhaul agreements with Airtel, with TNM, with Inc., with any backhaul service provider. And it will be the one that is responsible for setting up standards and guidelines that will run this system. Now, what will this company do? It will go into the rural areas. It will connect schools, post offices, markets, police stations, any public place, government buildings. It will ensure all those are connected. With that connectivity, we will ensure that that target that Mr. Suleiman was mentioning by 2027 is achieved, because now quality broadband internet will be available in the most remotest, unserved, and underserved areas of Malawi. That every district will be covered. Then this company will have a network of network agents. The same way you see kiosks of Airtel, the same way you see kiosks, but this one will be out in the rural areas providing broadband services. I've already spoken about this, that's why I'm just running through it. Yes, I talked about how the Yatu Broadband Company, it would be responsible for marketing, promotion, for brand creation, etc. And of course, last mile broadband internet delivery. What services will be offered by Yatu in the rural areas? So, home connections. You've got a house in the rural area, you want good, quality, affordable internet, it will offer that. It will offer web hosting. There are NGOs, local community entities that need website capacity, hosting capacity. They will come to Yatu. The Yatu representatives will be on the ground. It will offer vouchers. Through the kiosks, people can buy internet vouchers. It will offer, low-level managed services for NGOs that operate in the rural areas. Essentially, this will be the internet company for the rural areas. What are we trying to achieve? By doing this, there are so many things that will happen. Acceleration of internet penetration. I talked about it being at 36%. We want it to be 70, 80% by 2027. In terms of education, it will enable e-learning. People in the rural areas have challenges with accessing good quality teachers. Now they will not have to worry about it, because the same quality education that is received out in New York can be accessed with those people in Kaweme in Chitipa through e-learning. The Ministry of Education, working with the Universal Service Fund, is already digitizing the curricula. In fact, almost all from 4 subjects are now in digital form, and these will be loaded onto PCs that will be lodged at rural schools, and the schools there will be learning via video, via any other medium that uses broadband to achieve universal education, which is also being enabled by universal connectivity. E-health, the Ministry of Health is working with us right now to enable connectivity to all hospitals. Why? Because they want all the diagnostics can be done in the rural area, sent via the internet to specialists in Ilongwe, who will then respond with this one is sick with that, the best remedy is this. Therefore, the people in the rural areas are going to access world-class health services like everybody else. Amongst other things, I'm not going to go into each one of them. Okay, I talked about, in this model, there is a role for everybody. The telcos will be providing backhaul connectivity. Then there will be other support services provided by the telcos. Then there is the MACRA, which I mentioned, the licensing and ensuring that the Communications Act is being followed. So that's the structure of the Year 2 Broadcast Company. There will be the shareholders and members who are the cooperatives, who have themselves formed a national cooperative, which has formed a company that is led by the board of directors, who will have a general manager, technical services, sales and marketing, and finance. For those of you from Malawi, you may have seen adverts in the newspaper. Year 2 Broadband Company was looking for a CEO, was looking for a CTO, all sorts of vacant positions. Those were for the recruitment under this initiative. Now, all this needs money. Now, you wonder, just to set up the network infrastructure alone, in the first phase alone, you're looking at 3 billion kwacha. Then operating capital, you need at least 251 million. Who is going to raise that money? It's not MACRA. It's not Universal Service Fund. This, we're just facilitating the establishment. This will be funded by NIF. We've signed a memorandum of understanding with NIF. NIF will provide that funding to invest in that infrastructure. Then the repayment is guaranteed by MACRA, so that we are not going to do it, we're just facilitating, and once it picks off, it will run on its own. Okay, so in a nutshell, I've been as brief as possible because there's so many other details, but I thought that just gives you an idea of what we're trying to do under the Year 2 initiative. But before I move to the next presentation, which is related to Year 2, perhaps I can take some questions and comments if there are any. Any questions, comments? Yes?
Did you find the CEO and all the personnel already?
Yes, the recruitment is underway. The interviews for CEO happened already. They're in the process of doing the background checks, etc. The additional interviews for the other staff are yet to start. But the CEO ones at least will move, because once the CEO is recruited, then he will drive the rest of the process.
And, is it someone from the industry already, or like accomplished person?
Yeah, well, it was a public recruitment. We advertised in the paper, people applied, and yeah. I'm not going to say who it is now, but yeah, it was a public recruitment process. Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. I would like to ask who are your partners as far as the backbone and internet connectivity is concerned, infrastructure.
Okay. I'll give you an idea that telcos will be involved. In fact, already telcos are involved. Already we've got contracts with Airtel, we've got contracts with TNM in some of the rural sites that are at the pilot phase. But going forward, the decisions of the type of technology, whether fiber or whether microwave or whether satellite, will be determined by the management once they're recruited. And the determination will be on the most appropriate technology, the most optimal solution in that area. If there is fiber available and it's the easiest to deploy and the cost effective, we'll use that. If it's better to just put a satellite kit, we'll use that. So those decisions will be made by management.
Thank you. Since you're talking about infrastructure, and also you're talking about service, which is going to a rural area, how will you make sure that people from the rural areas are accessing the service?
Good question. Sorry, I cut you. Go finish your question.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
How are you going to make sure that people from the rural are accessing the service?
Okay, now that will be answered in the next presentation. That's why I said it's related, yeah. Sure. Yes, at the back there. Huh? Oh, there's a microphone there.
Okay, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. And having heard about Yatu Yatu, I've been having questions in my head. One of which you have said the funding. Funding will be funded by NIFI.
Yes.
I don't know if that funding also including the maintenance in the future, because as far as I look at it, it should be continued. It should be a continuous thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, what will happen to the maintenance cost? Is the funding from NIF, is it just only the implementation part of it, or thereafter the maintenance cost as well? And another thing is, maybe you can answer it, but to me, I look at it as a concept. To say, when I look at Yatu Yatu, I find that there is USF. USF is under MACRA. And then we are introducing the Yatu Yatu thing. And it's in this conference, I've heard one thing which I like very much, that we are partners. We are not competitors. And then MACRA is involved in this project, whereby we know MACRA is a regulator, whereby we, the operators, we give license fees to MACRA. MACRA is involved and is funding a project whereby in the end is providing the internet. Same internet that the operators are operating, are using as services out there. And then the Yatu Yatu thing is like a thing that seems like free. I heard already you have installed maybe hotspots. Planter market, it's a thing which I look at it as like now you're competing with somebody else who's giving you license fees. Why is it not that you just empower that person who is already there on the ground providing internet, and then they should go out in the field? Yeah, maybe stop there.
Okay, that's a loaded question. To answer that question, I think I'll try and answer as many, because you've asked at least 4 questions there in one. I'll take you back to our mandate. The Act specifies the mandate of the Universal Service Fund. The mandate of the Universal Service Fund is to close gaps in the telecommunications sector. All right? There are gaps like no internet in the most remotest parts of Malawi. It's called an underserved, because if you go there, the network is not even 2G in some cases. It's so bad. You can't do anything. So, let me take a scenario here in Chitipa, at Kawemi, in those Misuku Hills. There are Malawians there. They pay taxes. Why is it that the local telcos are not there to service those people? Let's start from answering that question. There is a reason why. The telcos, Inc., all of you here don't want to go there because you feel the return from those few people who are they're not very economically active is less. But they're also Malawians. The contribution you're saying to the fund is the same way that they pay tax too. Now, you are looking at commercial considerations. We are looking at national considerations. No one should be left behind on the digitalization journey. We can't have only people in urban areas move ahead in the 4th industrial journey and leaving everybody else behind. So we have a mandate to do it. Now, yes, we are under MACRA, right? That is why we're using funds under the Universal Service Fund, which you contributed, and we work with you in the model, as you have seen, right? We are not starting an ISP. We're just facilitating the establishment of one, and once it starts, nothing to do with us. We will continue doing other things. So we're facilitating the establishment of a vehicle that will provide broadband services in the rural areas, which are not served for your own reasons. I don't know if I've answered that. Okay. Sure. And there's nothing wrong when we've established and the rural areas have all this access to broadband. There's nothing wrong with you guys going there and competing with those cooperatives. I'm sure you're better advanced at them. These are women-led, youth-led, people who don't even know tech, but they are owning an initiative that is providing technology solutions for people who are ignored, left downtrodden, no one cares about them. But we as a fund, under the the Communications Act, have a responsibility and mandate to make sure no one is left behind. We should also provide for them. Any other?
Yeah, thank you for the explanation. But now on the sustainability, how is this vehicle going to get sustained?
Okay. Again, if you allow me to do the next presentation, and that question come at the end, you see how it's related. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, nice, excellent presentation. And I just wanted to add in support of it is that as part of the USF, so this is something that as operators we are subject to a level where we have to contribute a percentage of our annual turnover. Part of what they're doing is the cost of providing infrastructure in these remote areas is there's no business case for it. But then because they're leveraging the USF to implement infrastructure in those areas, when we link it to the shared infrastructure initiative, it now means that we can reach those areas, like you're saying, without having to do infrastructure ourselves. So the benefit at a national level is that it will now make it easier for operators who are previously just focused on urban areas to say that, okay, there's a tower I can recycle in the rural area, I can work with customers.
Yes.
So there will be a long-term benefit for everyone.
Actually, thank you very much for raising that. There is another initiative which we're running at the Universal Service Fund, which is the Rural Tower Development Initiative. We're installing towers where private sector don't put towers. So we did a gap analysis study where there are gaps where there's literally no connectivity in Malawi, or there's little connectivity. When I say little connectivity, is maybe just a week 2 signals. We map them out and we said, okay, we will need this X number of towers to ensure everybody's covered. So tapping from the fund, we're installing towers in those areas. Now, that's what he said comes into that, because those towers will be for everybody. It will not be for USF. In fact, if you saw in the paper, we put an advert for tower construction. TNM, Airtel, what's that tower company? Helios, they all bid. And in fact, the bid was only offered to contributors of the fund. So if you're contributing to the fund, we give you the business to go and build the tower. When the tower is there, we will fund it under a subsidy. We'll put it there. It will be yours as a company for free, essentially yours because we've funded, but we're putting it under your balance sheet. But the condition is allow anybody to put their gadgets there at a cost at a sustainable cost. Why? Because we want as many players to access those areas at a low cost, because they already complain that they're not getting return. So they'll be encouraged to put their infrastructure there on that tower under the sharing that he's talking about. Thereby, who wins? The Malawian in the village there is the winner of all this. So it's not a fight. We're doing everything within our mandate. So let me just move to the next one. There are about 12 programs that we're running, all interlinked with one goal, and that goal is digital inclusion for all. For this conference, I've just talked about 2, but there are others, from digital literacy, from local content development. You know, we can put infrastructure in the rural areas. We can do anything, but if we don't train those people how to use the computer, you're not going to achieve anything. And when they do know how to use the computer, if they can't afford a device, you're not going to do anything. So we have got initiatives to ensure that the infrastructure there, that the people are trained, that their devices are affordable, and ensuring that when they do afford that device, the content that is on the social media or other platforms is locally relevant. So for example, a lot of us watch Nigerian movies, or you go online, you see Hollywood, whatever. Very little Malawian content. And I believe people watch Nigerian movies not because they necessarily like them, but it's as close to their life as possible. Can you imagine if all those movies were Malawian movies? We'll be watching Malawian movies. So we've got a program to ensure that we fund content developers to create Malawian content to ensure that the internet is relevant for those people in the rural areas. Oh, engage.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, slide mode. Okay, so the next initiative, which is the direct platform of which we will ensure the community is involved actively, is called Connect a School project. Once we've put all that infrastructure, the year 2, amongst the priority places we ensure are connected are schools. Malawi has 9,000 odd schools, 1,700 secondary schools, which mostly what we call community day secondary CDSSs, and 6,900 primary schools. Majority of them don't even have electricity. They don't never mind internet, never mind an ICT lab. We are going to put ICT labs in those schools. And we call that Connect a School. Okay, again, I think I spoke about this. Basically, what's our vision? Digital inclusion for all. No one should be left behind. No one in the rural areas, no women, no disabled people, no one should be left behind on the journey to digitalization. And our mission, therefore, is to facilitate the provision and access of ICT service to bridge the digital divide. The digital divide is the one I talk. It comes in 3 forms. There is the rural-urban. Majority, in fact, there's zero connectivity, almost zero connectivity in the rural areas. Majority of people access the internet are in the urban areas. So there's a rural-urban divide. Then there's a gender divide. More men are accessing the internet than women. That's why we are now encouraging the empowerment under year 2, 51% ownership of cooperatives, to get more women into technology. Then there is the people with disabilities gap. You know, we take things for granted, but imagine if you are deaf. You're just seeing computers with images, you don't know what is going on, right? In fact, Malawi, only 3 TV stations have sign language interpreters. And only for news, not even for every other program. So, again, one of our programs we've got is a sign language development program where we've trained 106 sign language interpreters, and we've deployed them into the rural areas to set up sign language clubs, and the sign language clubs will be at schools. Then the fund is going to be funding inter-school sign language debating competitions to mainstream sign language in Malawi. Because someday in the future, Macra will say, for you to have a TV license, you need to have sign language interpreters for all your programs. Right now, they can't do that because they will tell you, where will we get them? So we are funding initiatives to develop a pipeline of sign language interpreters who will be employed in future as sign language interpreters on our national TVs. But I'll move now to the Connect a School. Okay, that's just a quick listing of some of the initiatives I was talking about. Connect a School is what I'm about to present to you. Yatu I already presented. ICT Curriculum Review Project. That project is, in Malawi, most people only knew computer science at Chancellor College. They went through primary school, they didn't know what a computer is. They went to secondary school, they didn't know what a computer is. Then they get to Chanko and see there's a subject called computer science. That is coming to an end. We're working with the Ministry of Education and the Malawi Institute of Education to fund the curriculum development for Malawi so that from standard 4, a rural child in standard 4, in fact, where is the Ministry of Education? Okay, another initiative, we're providing, there's an organization providing iPads to rural schools for standard 1 to 4. Why? You now need to give iPads. They're giving about 50 iPads per school, and then a solar kit to ensure those iPads are charged. The reason is to start getting a standard 1 to 4 child getting used to technology before the real business starts. Then we as the fund are coming in at standard 4. We're now having a curriculum that will start from standard 4. A rural child in standard 4 should be able to write a letter using Microsoft Word, should be able to search for information using Google, should be able to chat with somebody using WhatsApp, things we take for granted. but go to the rural areas, no one even knows those things. So that's the program under the ICT curriculum review. That's at primary school. At secondary school, we're introducing Python language. You know, Python is one of the most advanced thing. That is being introduced at Python at secondary school level, so that by the time they're going to Chanko, it's no longer just computer science. It's now the advanced stuff, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, data science, and all those things. This is already at an advanced stage. The team, the National ICT Task Force has been running for now a few months. They've just finished the benchmarking tour of Rwanda and Kenya, because those countries have moved ahead with making their curriculum relevant for digitalization. They're now in the process of developing those curriculums so that we can start piloting in the next academic year. Now, that addresses curriculum at the formal level. What about those who have finished school? They're in the rural areas. They can't go back to school to learn under the new curriculum. We don't want to leave those behind too. So we've got a program called Digital Ambassadors Program. Now, Digital Ambassadors Program was implemented in Rwanda, and it's very successful. In Malawi, the way we're implementing it, we're recruiting 2,000. You know, there's so many people lying around with technical qualifications, you know, no employment. We're going to recruit them, 2,000, and deploy them in the rural areas. What's their job? They'll be given an iPad. We're developing an app on that iPad with all the content. Now, they'll be going every week. This week, they're with traditional leaders in a class, showing them how to write a letter using Microsoft Word, how to, all the basic things that I talked about. Next week, they'll be with traditional TAs or group village headmen. The other week, they'll be with whoever. In the end of 1 year, we would have trained 100,000 rural citizens in digital basic literacy. Then we've got another program called SME Digital Skills Initiative. This one, we're actually starting it next week. We're contracting the service provider under that next week. Because if we're going to move this, I've talked about the literacy for the rural folk, and I've talked about literacy at the national formal level of the curriculum. Then there are vendors. Every trading center, there are vendors. SMEs, how can we achieve the digital economy if they don't even know what e-commerce is? Now we need to train them in first, basic digital literacy, but secondly, in e-commerce, fintech, etc. We've got that program. We've got, over the next year, we're going to train 235 communities. So they'll go to Pamponela, get everybody in a room, or the vendors, teach them these things. So that the first phase is to teach them, let them know the stuff first. The next phase is under that program there. The next phase is under the e-commerce platform development. Now, we can't achieve e-commerce if people don't know what it is. So we're starting with a pilot. At Biwi Triangle, if you go to Biwi Triangle, there's people who, welders, parts sellers, name it, they're there. So we've grouped them all into an association. There's called Biwi Triangle Light Industrial Area Association. We have equipped them with equipment, and we're developing an app for them. That app will be the first step in our e-commerce journey. So what does that mean? You have a car accident. Right now, the first thing you start going to those areas, looking for somebody to panel beat your car, going through that dust, etc., etc. That would be history. From the comfort of your home, you go on your phone, you find the app there. All those people at Biwi Triangle will be listed there. All their services will be listed there, pictures, ratings, comments. You can even request a quote, so that from the comfort of your home, you select who you want to go to, who you're going to buy parts from, who is going to do your spray painting, who is going to weld, who is going to everything. All done, selected from there. Quotations given to you. You're happy, paid. All you need to do is bring your car. Now, the app has already been developed. We are now at the stage of awareness of the community, because we believe this app will bring more business for those people. Right now, they're just relying on the local hinterland. But with an app, they can reach people from 25. They can reach more people. So once they see the value in this app, more communities will be wanting apps developed, and that will be the beginning of the e-commerce journey, which is going to contribute to Malawi's digital economy. Okay, I talked a little bit about the people with disabilities program in terms of sign language, but then there's another gap we identified there, where we saw that these people, at their institutions, they don't have capacity. So we identified all institutions of people with disabilities. There's Mbangweni School for the Blind, Mulanje Rehabilitation Center, Mua School for the Blind, and we went there. We said, okay, how can we help you using the fund? They told us what they need. They need assistive technologies. You know, things like Braille, but in digital form. So we are funding. We've refurbished their ICT labs with brand new equipment. We've put in assistive technologies so that now, even at their level, they're getting digital literacy. By the time they're finishing their school at those schools, they are now digital ready and they can benefit from the fourth industrial revolution. I spoke about the local content development initiative. It's about getting more Malawian content to ensure people find it relevant. Then there's the local device assembly. Yes, again, the cheapest smartphone in Malawi, I think ranges from about $60, $70, which is beyond the affordability of most Malawians. So this program is trying to find a solution to that. There's two ways. One, we'll be supplying computer equipment in rural areas. Therefore, the people can at least go to those hubs and access a computer that's a free computer to use, write a letter, whatever they want to do to search for information, they'll access that device. But the other one is where we're now exploring the possibility of assembling those smart devices in the country. Those initiatives are already running in Botswana, in Rwanda. In fact, we've already been approached by the companies in Botswana to say they want to do the same for Malawi. What will it entail? Instead of bringing in the Samsungs coming in the way they come in and mark up and it's expensive, we'll bring in the parts. The parts will be deployed to technical colleges. The students, as part of their learning at technical colleges, will be assembling phones and they'll be sold in the market at a very cheap rate because the production cost is low and it will be coming in bulk. Those parts will be coming in bulk. You enjoy economies of scale. Then we've got the national addressing system. If we are going to develop an e-commerce industry in Malawi, you need to have an addressing system. Panopa in Malawi, if you are giving somebody directions, they will tell you, pass that tree next, then you see a building to the right. Don't turn there, then turn here. That is history. I'm sure some of you have already seen, we've already started putting numbers on people's homes. Each street in Malawi has been mapped. Each building in Malawi has been mapped. Those maps have been sent to Google. Right now, if you go to Google, every street in Malawi is indexed. Okay, let me start. In the first phase, we've done 5 districts in the center, 5 districts in the north, 7 in the center, and 5 in the south. It's an ongoing project. In fact, the director of Postal, who is doing all these good things, Mr. Kachik at the back there, he's leading these initiatives at Makra to ensure that Malawi has a modern national addressing system in readiness for the e-commerce. Because e-commerce means you'll be ordering things in the comfort of your home. So when you're saying, I'm buying this bottle, bring it to 1 Malambe Street, and you pay, the thing will arrive at your home at 1 Malambe Street because every house will have an address. This thing of giving directions using trees, etc., is gone. Then the last initiative we're doing is what we're calling the last mile conveyance program. Similarly, okay, this initiative, the first phase of this initiative was to ensure letters. I know we're moving towards technology, but let's not leave behind people who are still writing letters. The people are still writing letters out there. So we went to Malawi Post Office and said, why is it that you can't reach that last Malawian at the last outpost at Maraka in Nsanje? They would tell us, we don't have capacity to reach that far. So we purchased motorcycles. In the first phase, we bought them 31 motorcycles so that now they don't have an excuse. The motorcycle can go to the last post, leaving no one behind in the postal sector. Then, under that same initiative, there is another initiative called courier, in the courier space. If you go to a courier company, Ankolo or whatever out there, you say, I want to send this parcel to Likom Island, or I want to send this parcel to Shamama in Kasung. They will likely tell you we don't go there. Most of them are operating Blantyre, Lilongwe, and Zuzu. They will take a passport on Zuzu, they will take a passport on Blantyre. But that leaves behind everybody else. And those two are Malawians that should not be left behind. So we've got this program where we are now, those companies will not refuse a package, even if they don't have capacity to get there. You put it, but right now what's happening is people are sending packages through Madobadoba, Maminibasi. Sometimes the package is stolen, sometimes it doesn't even reach there, it gets there damaged. There's no regulation in that sector. That is what the gap we have identified and we're trying to address. So what will happen is, you get to a courier company, I'm taking this to Jamama in Kasungu, they will gladly take it, you pay and you go. They will carry that using to the last point of their capacity. They will take it if they've got a point of representation in Kasungu, they will take it that far. Under the fund, we have identified what we're calling the last mile conveyance managers, one per region, north, south, center, and east. Those are the ones who will now take that package to the last mile, to that corner of Malawi where no one goes, so that those people too deserve to access courier services. That's what we call the last mile conveyance program. I just had to give you a brief of each of these so that you understand as I'm going to the next presentation how it's all coming together. I hope I've still got time. Oh, I'm done. Give me 5 minutes, I'll be very quick. Okay. Okay, so the connector school, in essence, I'll just go straight into it. The connector school, at the end of the day, we're building this in the rural areas. It's a lab with capacity for 60 computers. And under the first phase, we're building 75. We launched them in May. By end of September, we would have finished 75 of these countrywide. We're starting phase 2. By end of December, Malawi will have 193 labs in the rural areas. And each of these labs will have a hotspot. So 100-meter radius from those labs, people in those rural areas under the Yat initiative will be able to access free internet for a period of 3 years, because there's a budget to cover this initiative under 3 years to get the rural internet connectivity going. There's the progress we've made. That is, it's currently happening across the country. So that's Kalumba CDSS, has reached that level. That in Chitipa, they've gone, with Cholo. They're all happening concurrently, countrywide, and by end of September, there'll be 75 of these in the rural areas. That's more of the sites in Machinga, in Chikwawa. I took these last week, just to give you a snapshot of where we're making progress there. There have been challenges. I will not dwell into the lack of electricity. Some of those sites don't even have electricity. So we're putting solar systems to ensure the computers are powered. Thank you, and that's the presentation I had. We've got under the fund, we've got a rural connectivity budget. So those schools will be provided with free internet for a period of 3 years to at least get them started, right? What we mean by funding, we will fund the school to pay for the broadband. You get it? That broadband is provided, Yat will provide the broadband. That's how Yat will sustain itself for a period of 3 years. After 3 years, by then we believe they should have kicked off and gone on their own. Then there are other models beyond what I've just said. For example, if a company wants to put a tower, right? Now you need to find land, buy land, pay for it, it's expensive. The model is you negotiate with the school, put your tower in the school grounds for free, and you get, as long as you're providing the school with broadband, it's a fair deal, win-win for everybody. Okay. Any other question? Oh, have I answered your question? Maintenance, yes. If you remember in my presentation, I talked about the company. It's a CEO, there's a technical department, there's a commercial department, there's a finance department. Under the technical department, they will employ a technical officer, one in each district, who will be doing the maintenance. Yeah. My time is run out. Any other questions? You can always ask me questions outside. Okay, yeah?
One question. My name is Clement.
Yes.
Ngoma. I am from Ink Digital.
Yes.
Now, you are trying to facilitate going digital. In Malawi, one prevalent problem that is there with digital and everything is payments. Okay. You want Mr. X who's running a garage, he needs to have a bank account so that MRA can get their dues. Okay. But currently, we are forced to make direct bank credits, transactions and so forth, right? Which does not improve our ability to do e-commerce. Okay, there is that factor to take into place, to take into consideration. Is there anything you are doing to lobby the government to, and I think the Reserve Bank, to actually allow for such kind of e-commerce to take place?
Correct. Yes. That app we're talking about for the BWI has a payment gateway integrated to it. That payment gateway has APIs with the relevant payment providers. There is Airtel, there's CNM, all the APIs will be connected there, and even the aggregators. So there's PayChangus and all those, they'll be aggregated there, so that there should be seamless flow of funds across the board. So you can even pay with the Pamba for those services. Yeah, sure. Any other questions? I'm still available if any has other questions. Thanks.